All right, what's up, everybody? Ethan here from Groove. Excited for our next edition of eCommerce Masters. Today, we're going to be talking to Matt Dornfeld, the Senior Director of Global Partnerships at Feedonomics, and we've got an action-packed podcast for you today. I will say that for those of you that are listening on audio only, this is a video-first podcast, so to see some of what's being shared on screen, head on over to our YouTube page at Groove Commerce and like and comment, please, and subscribe to our channel. Matt, welcome to the podcast today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. Doing great. Just, getting through the mid part of the week. Things are spicy at this time of the year. I'm sure they are for you too, but we're doing well.
Always spicy, always
Yeah.
spicy. So we're heading into the fall officially now. For those of us in the mid-Atlantic, we're getting our first taste of cold, and it's probably still 100 down in Austin where you're at, right?
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we actually touched 100. Yeah, no, it's still hot here, but yeah, the last couple of weeks have been in Chicago and New York. Chicago's definitely starting to cool down, and had a chance to check out Shop Talk out that way too. So, everything in the industry is still cooking, and yeah, the heat's still down here too.
That's great. That's great. So tell me a little bit about how you made your way in this industry over to Feedonomics.
For sure. Yeah, got my career in e-commerce started at a small inventory management partner named Scubana, which has since been acquired by 3PL Central. And did that for a couple of years and really got to learn a lot about how the back office of brands really function and how people leverage operations to turn them profitable. And then over time, an opportunity with BigCommerce came up, and I didn't really know much about BigCommerce at the time, but as I dug more into it and started to learn more about the platform where it sits in the space, it became really enamored with its market opportunity. And then during that experience, when I finally came over to BigCommerce, I was part of the M&A team that helped bring Feedonomics under the BigCommerce umbrella. And so I went from managing the Feedonomics partnership at BigCommerce to running partnerships at Feedonomics with platforms all over the world. So it's been a crazy journey the last few years, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's super cool. That's super cool. And so, just to clarify for everybody, Feedonomics is owned by BigCommerce, but you work with a multitude of different e-commerce platforms. So, why
Yeah,
don't you tell us a little bit about what Feedonomics does?
for sure. Yeah, so Feedonomics is an enterprise data feed management solution. And what we do is we help brands and retailers take their product data from disparate systems, wherever that data exists, aggregate it into one place, transform that data, and then send it to the destinations that a merchant wants to exist on. And so in many cases, that could be an advertising channel like a Google or a TikTok. Sometimes it's a marketplace like an Amazon or a Walmart. Sometimes those marketplaces also have their own ads channels. And then more recently, we're starting to see more use cases with other solutions that could also benefit from product data. So if you've ever installed a search and merch platform on your website, or maybe you've run an email marketing campaign or SMS campaign, product catalog data plays a really critical role in performance through all of those channels. And so Feedonomics works really hard through its tech and its services to transform the data in a way that's most ready to be digested by those solutions and then brought to market really successfully from there.
That's cool. That's cool. I know, like, kind of been doing this 20 years, and back in the day, we were kind of creating these formatted text files that had to get
Yeah,
dropped everywhere. And I know that when formats would change, or like sometimes you would want to have different data for different channels, or like based
yeah,
upon like ways things sell differently in different marketplaces. Maybe you don't want all your products, in every single marketplace. It was just a huge undertaking, and I would say a mess to kind of manage those
yeah.
individually and like from a development point of view.
It's like herding cats, right? It's a lot of data going in a lot of places. And what's on the other side of great structure to that data is performance, right? Like you get the data right for the places you want to send it, and returns will be there waiting for you. And so, channels like Google reward brands and retailers with lower costs for the ads that they're running if the product data is sent to them in a really high quality way. And so we focus a lot on that with our clients. And I mean, the results are there, right? I'm sure you've come across it in your world, to your point, with a variety of the projects you've worked on. And then naturally in our world, more performance focused, it's critical, to the day-to-day tasks of, VPs of marketing
Yeah.
and, related positions.
So is there AI parts of the tool? Like what, how does
Yeah.
it kind of know what to do here?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a couple components to that. So Feedonomics and it really has a core differentiator in that it's a full service platform. So we have a large team that works across all clients that touch the platform, and they're actively, managing alerts and making sure that things are being structured and then sent to the appropriate channels in the right way at the right times. Obviously, there's a lot of automation that goes into that as well, but generally speaking, it's not a off-the-shelf self-serve platform. Like there are a lot of people involved to actually help make sure that we're delivering excellent outcomes on the behalf of our clients. And then on the AI piece, Feedonomics has been working, with its own AI solution for years and years and years. Obviously, it's been a very special and sexy topic over the last couple of years, I'd say at this point, and popularized by ChatGPT and other like solutions. But Feedonomics' AI solution focuses a lot on category management. And so, when you're advertising, if you sell jackets and you're sending those jackets to Google, but you miscategorize those jackets as pants, someone who's searching for jackets might not see the product they want, which means the SKU won't convert, which means Google doesn't get what it wants, which is someone clicking through and actually buying, and you don't get what you want, which is someone doing the same. And so it's very important to make sure that category data is in its best possible condition when it's sent to the end channel, because that will help dictate who actually sees your products and who doesn't.
Wow. All right. Cool. Cool. Yeah. AI. We used to call it machine learning
Yeah,
before it was AI, right? Before AI was
sure,
sexy.
totally.
Um,
It'll be something
so
else later. I'm confident of it.
I am sure there will be. Oh, there's always something else later.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about kind of the full service aspect. Let's say that you're on an e-commerce platform. You're looking to kind of get your products seen through different marketplaces. What's kind of the process of getting going with Feedonomics?
Yeah. Well, to your earlier point, working in the weeds of product data is a tedious business. And for a lot of brand teams, you don't have the resources to spend the, in some cases, insurmountable amount of hours required to structure the data in the right way, test it, make sure it's going the right places, et cetera. So our teams take a lot of that legwork off of the plates of the brands and onto our own team. And so from an onboarding perspective, we're starting the full team experience from day one. So the moment you agree to work with Feedonomics, you're getting a full team supporting you. That's really getting you ready for operational readiness. So that's the digestion of your catalog data. That's the figuring out where you want to sell and in what order and prioritization should we prepare for those channels. That's making sure that when we send data to an Amazon or a Google, it's going to succeed, right? It's mapped to the right categories, has the right attributes. It's basically ready to use by both the retailer on the other end, so the Amazons of the world, but also the end shopper who will look for these products when you ultimately advertise. So full service, can mean a lot of things, and for us that means full support from
Yeah.
the day you sign on, and then the go forward, go to market from thereafter.
All right. Cool. Cool. So what's a ideal merchant for Feedonomics look like? What are you kind of looking for? What's your ICP?
Yeah, I think for us, it definitely ranges. We work with a lot of different kinds of clients. We've got our multinationals, of course, and some really, really large name brands from around the world, but also a lot of other clients that maybe you'd be less familiar with. And so, in a lot of cases, we find that those clients on the low side are spending at least $20,000 a month on overall advertising spend,
Right.
but are also selling more than $25 million a year in GMV. And so, you start to really recognize that you need help when you're starting to see performance drop off on the channels that you want to exist on, or you're starting to contemplate what that next channel of success might be for you. And so you need a strategy going into that channel, make sure, are you advertising and selling through the right SKU selection for that channel? Have you mapped the category of your products to what would be successful in the marketplace? Do you need more headcount to actually manage the operations of the catalog on those channels? And so when you start to get to the point of thinking about more scale, you've hit, a great growth, threshold, maybe of 25, 50, $100 million. You start to think, okay, well, what's next for me? And I think that's where we can play a creative role to a go-to-market strategy and helping you figure out both where should you sell and how should you invest in those channels to make sure they perform.
Okay. All right. Is there room for merchants under 25, or is that kind of
For
like
sure.
what you think? Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think different brands have different requirements. There are earlier stage companies that we started to work with that haven't hit that inflection point of, crazy growth, but they've got the right pieces in place. And so, we've worked with clients as low as $5 million a year, $10 million
Okay.
a year, and even some smaller than that. We've seen some cases where like B2B retailers who don't sell a lot online are starting to figure out, what's the B2B application of better product catalog data in conjunction with how can I drive more traffic to a future B2C website? And so it really comes back to what is the brand trying to achieve? Where are they trying to see that success? And then how can product data play a role in accelerating all of that? And so to your point, that might be someone who's only earning $1 million online, but has a lot of other stuff going on where better structured data could actually yield really outsized outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. So I was talking to a global manufacturer this morning, and they actually are getting into their first foray of B2B ordering, online ordering, right? Like, so they work through kind of traditional channels, work through salespeople, kind of take phone orders, put them in Salesforce, yada yada. But they really want to put this out there to the world to kind of increase their top of funnel and middle of funnel because they think more people could use their products that are unaware of them, right?
Yep.
That are not able to be touched by their 70 or so salespeople. So is this something that more B2B manufacturers are looking and brands are looking at in terms of, hey, how do I leverage these marketplaces to sell my products?
Absolutely. And it goes far beyond just marketplaces too. There's a lot with the B2B brand retailer experience that has a lot, left to be desired, right? There's a lot of, during COVID especially, there was a lot of talk of how do you go from all of your offline experiences and bring them onto online, get them rolling. But now I think we're at a different point where people are trying to figure out, A, if they haven't already done that, they should, but B, if you have started to do that, now what? And so there's both the paid story, right, where maybe you're running Google ads to drive someone to a certain place, but even beyond that, just typical B2B ordering and discovery of things. There's a lot that needs help. So, for example, if you have a bulk order coming in and you want to quickly identify the SKUs that might be required in an order, that can be complicated depending on the scale of the order. And so leveraging a platform like Feedonomics, you can easily visualize what's been ordered, what's that map to, what's that tie back to from a catalog perspective, and then streamline the buying experience, which obviously builds loyalty over time as well. So another use case, a lot of folks have distribution channels that span all over the world. Sometimes it's a field sales rep, maybe hopefully you have like 10,000 BigCommerce websites that you're trying to distribute through, but you're going to want a structured catalog that goes to all of those seller sites and those field sales reps so that everyone's working from a really high quality and unified catalog view. So that way, when someone's looking at the catalog, regardless of where they look for it, they're getting a very seamless and unified experience regardless of the channel. And so leveraging a platform that helps tie together where you're selling and what you're selling can be really critical in building a better B2B brand, which I think we can play a really strategic role in as well.
That's very cool. Very, very cool. So what's kind of the general, like, let's say that, hey, this is something I'm thinking about, like, I'm tired of dealing with this myself. Feedonomics is a great fit. What's kind of the general onboarding timeline? What does it take to kind of get up and running and out of the gate with something like this?
For sure. Kind of depends on the channel mix you're looking for. So if you're looking for mostly advertising channels versus marketplace channels, there'll be different data sets that are required to actually make that happen. But generally speaking, we hope to onboard merchants within 6 to 8 weeks. And so that can be accelerated by you as a retailer showing up with all the product data that you need and having all the systems in place and the right people involved and focused on a timeline that we jointly set. Just like with any SaaS platform, those timelines range based on a whole host of variables. I'm sure you see that in your world too. But generally speaking, 6 to 8 weeks is a pretty safe space to target for and expect a go-to-market, at least for those very initial channels as part of your strategy.
That's great. That's great. So one of the things we actually haven't talked about is what are some of the channels that people could utilize with this? What are some of the places? What are some of the ways that places that their product data could go when
Mhm.
using Feedonomics?
Yeah, for sure. I think the world is your oyster here, right? There's so many channels around the world, and sometimes the trick is just figuring out which are the right ones for your brand. And there's a lot that goes into that. So we offer a free service called Omni-Channel Consulting, where we actually meet with brands and retailers for free just to talk about where, based on your category and your size and your goals and your SKU catalog size, et cetera, that you should be considering adopting with your hero products? What are those channels that we think could see outsized returns based on the right investment early on, and make sure that those are accretive to your overall strategy? So that could be in the marketplace space in the US, that might be an Amazon, Walmart, eBay, maybe. Or maybe you've already done that tranche of marketplaces and now you're ready to think about Target Plus and Macy's and TikTok Shop, right? And these new platforms that all operate very differently, have different kinds of audiences with different expectations, but based on your category, you might be excellent fits for some or even all of them. So investing in the right channels is more critical than investing in all of the channels. And so we spend a lot of time to make sure that, while you might be a fit for 10 channels, you really should only invest in the ones that, you have a business case for that demonstrate real returns. And so there are channels like, well, I'm sure we'll touch more on like TikTok Shop today, where we're seeing really material growth there for the brands that invest in the right ways on those channels, and then less growth for the ones that maybe haven't adopted the strategies that we've seen perform over and over.
All right. Let's say that I'm aware of of omni-channel selling. I'm aware of kind of feed management. Like, what's something cool or interesting that Feedonomics does, that a strategy that you've seen that would work well for somebody that's maybe a little bit more advanced like that?
For sure. My favorite topic to talk about this year has been instant commerce. So instant commerce is a go-to-market strategy that helps brands basically sell their products online and then enable a BOPIS experience in the channels that they excuse me, they want to exist on. So imagine you're advertising on Google and you want to drive foot traffic to either your storefront or to your website where you can enable a pickup experience. You can invest in your digital ad strategy to actually drive in-person outcomes and experiences. Similarly, with Walmart, Walmart has a program called Local Finds that we'll hear more about, I'm sure, over the coming months, which enables a similar experience, which is basically buy on Walmart, but pick up products from local brick and mortar or receive a delivery from that brick and mortar. So imagine, Ethan, you and I are going out. We want to grab coffee midday. I go on Walmart, I see a product I like, I buy it. There's a brick and mortar maybe around the corner from me. I take you with me to that store so that I can pick up the product really, really fast, even within an hour. And then because you came with me on that journey, the brand might acquire you for free, right? Imagine you walk through the store, you don't want to buy anything that day, but you sign up for the loyalty program. You never would have even gone in the store, gone on the website, even known that loyalty program existed unless I had gone through an experience where I opted to go into the store and pick up the product I saw on Walmart.com. And then you came with me for that journey just because you're a nice guy. So there are a lot of things that need to be contemplated in that strategy where you might have data leakage, right? There might be, how do we find this person? What's this person worth to us? What's the return on that person? Does that change the cart size? Is it more helpful to have more inventory in the store? Am I turning more inventory over because I have this kind of experience? These are the kinds of questions we begin to ask and answer through in partnership with Walmart and Google and others, I'm sure in the quarters to come. And so what I find to be really interesting about this is that this is a new way to leverage existing budgets that may have varying returns on different channels to deliver new kinds of outcomes in places that you may not have expected in the past.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's super cool. I mean, and I, I first off, I love the concept also of local delivery. I know that I've utilized that like with retailers. Folks like Best Buy do it. Folks like Dick's Sporting Goods do it. And it's like, how do you leverage these tools that are available to you that the big massive retailers are using, that you can bring it down to folks that are say under 100 million, under 50 million, to be able to leverage things like that, right? And that is definitely, if you're crawling, walking, running, that's definitely in the running category of things. But it's also like what makes you great, to the ability to take advantage of programs like that.
100%.
What about like, what's a good kind of mid-level thing to think about, like when I'm a Feedonomics customer, with feeds, right?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing that comes to mind immediately would be custom labels. So custom labels are really a strategy where the folks that are controlling campaigns, either at the brand or at an agency, are helping the retailer's catalog get structured in a way that targets certain kinds of SKUs for certain kinds of channels at certain times. So imagine you wanted to target a set of SKUs that happen to be your most profitable, and also set them for distribution across a channel like TikTok, let's say, at a specific time of the year. Maybe it's a holiday campaign. And so what Feedonomics enables you to do is to apply custom labels to certain sets of catalogs and then send that data to certain channels to drive certain kinds of outcomes. And so if you want to get really strategic about where your products exist, how you're structuring that data for performance, et cetera, labels are a great way to do that at scale and ultimately drive outcomes that are perhaps more strategic than dumb pipes would otherwise enable. So one of the things we hear a lot is that, excuse me, a lot of feed solutions can be point to point, which effectively means taking data from one place and just sending it to another. And there are a ton of solutions in market that enable that experience to happen. And a lot of brands do that because it's easy. The challenge with that is that you're not thinking through what could transform that data to otherwise drive a better outcome. And so the beauty of a platform like Feedonomics is that you can join together different kinds of data sets, like maybe you have a set of profitability data that you want to overlay to your catalog before it gets sent to an ads channel, which naturally means you're only going to promote your most profitable products, which means your margin profile will also expand. You can't do that without custom labels to splice off parts of the catalog, without a platform that will join together those varying data sets. And so there's a lot that's left on the table. And as you get larger and larger and larger as a brand, you need to be more creative about where that margin is going to come from. So I think this is an easy out of the box offering that we deploy all the time for our clients and highly recommend strategists that brands and retailers and agencies employ as well.
Well, one of the things it's, you talk about profitability. One of the things that's the most like frustrating to me with all of this is, like I'm a big dude, right? And so I will get ads for clothing on Instagram and other platforms, and I'll click and they'll be out of my size in that, or it's not available. And I don't buy. And then, like I will continue to get those ads. And then at some point I'll click again and look to see if, well, maybe if it's back in stock, right? And it's not back in stock again. So, being able to kind of better target and understand people's intent as well, I think is kind of a next wave of how to
Really.
look at things and think about things as well, right? Like it's like
Totally.
how are we gonna not show the ad to the big dude that's looking for a double XL and they've been out of stock for 6 months,
Yeah.
on it.
Totally. I mean, there's a lot to think about there. Like inventory control is another one of those things. Like why run ads on a product that you're out of stock for?
Right.
Yeah, that's not a very good use of your ad dollars, right? Because then you're turning over zero. So we're trying to figure out ways like how do we take that kind of thinking and apply that to that earlier instant commerce strategy too? Like why not enable a shopper to figure out, oh, maybe if this store doesn't have a product, that store does, and which otherwise in your case, if store number one didn't have double XL, but store number two did, you'd probably go to store number two.
Right.
And so providing that kind of visibility, providing that kind of data structuring to enable that kind of experience to happen, that's where the gains that are left on the table get taken. And we try to do that all the time for our brands and retailers, and it gets more important the bigger you get. When early stage, you can get by as a small brand focusing on Google and Facebook and maybe Amazon, fine. The moment you start hitting 10 million, 25, 50, gets hard to climb the ladder, right? And so making the right strategic bets is where, we like to win, and deploying strategies like custom labels, instant commerce, channel strategy mix, and stuff I'm sure we'll talk about today. All the more reason, to lean in with a platform partner that's providing you with those kinds of recommendations. And, obviously I work at Feedonomics. I'd love for brands to partner with us, but what I would also generally say is like, if you're not getting those kinds of proactive recommendations from your support system, like your friends in the space, your other vendors, you need to reevaluate, are you working with the right people to get you to that next stage of growth as well?
Yeah. So I think people really underestimate. So I had a friend that was a very niche retailer, sold only through his website, and then started pushing to Amazon and 3x the sales pretty
Wow.
quickly because his products though were in a niche. They actually worked in another niche that he wasn't aware of, and
Wow.
another niche after that. And so he started getting products bought that he thought were for a one specific use that ended up having other opportunities for people to purchase. And so, I think that that's a great thing that people don't think about, as well, because once it gets to those other marketplaces, people are literally looking for the product, not the name of your store or
Totally.
or your brand, all the time. So
For
it's a
sure.
big opportunity. What do you think's kind of coming next? Like, if
Yeah.
in the for the omni-channel industry. What do you think? Where do you think this is going? What should we look for 2025?
I think we'll see a couple of things. One, I think, is the continued focus and evolution of programs around locally available inventory. So what's happening with Walmart is very new. What Google's been doing with local inventory has been around for a while, but I think as other mega platforms get involved, that will obviously rise in popularity around the world. And so local inventory over time will start to infiltrate how we shop via email and shop via text. And so as more channels begin to contemplate how locally available inventory will influence buyer behavior, I think we'll continue to see more integration of that kind of data and then strategy as a result of that on the channels that we all shop on. And so there's a lot to like about that because I know for me, if I know that I can get a thing super fast, super local, I'm probably going to buy it, or I'm much more likely to buy it, and that can get me out of a pinch. I'll even give you a recent example. Last week, it's last minute, I got invited to a Halloween party and I was like, oh, damn, I don't have a costume right now. And so, man, would it have been nice to go online, see like, okay, I can buy this quick costume, have it delivered within 4 hours. Great. Instead, what I did was I went to the mall, I waited in line outside of the store for 25 minutes, walked in a line around the store, picked up the only costume, that would fit me that was right there, bought it and walked out. That cost me time. That wasn't a fun experience. It could have been so much better. And it would have been better if, as a shopper who was shopping on his phone prior, I was able to see where I could get the thing, what size, to your earlier point, is it a thing I even want to buy? There's so many new kinds of conversations that can happen between a brand and a shopper if you enable them to happen. And right now, not enough platforms are doing it. And so I'm fully expecting mega platforms in the space to continue to invest in programs that enable that kind of thing to happen. And Google's led the charge on that for years. And I think we'll just see more of that to come. On the other side, did you have a thought on that in
No, no,
particular?
no. I agree with you. I agree with you because I have a recent example as well. The Orioles were in the Baltimore Orioles were in the playoffs, and I saw these kind of vintage, these reissued vintage Nikes that had an orange swoosh, and I'm
Yep.
like, I've got to have those to go to the playoff game, and so I did a search for them on Google. I found a store. I think it was a Dick's Sporting Goods that was probably with traffic was probably about 30 minutes from me, and I'm like, I don't have
Yep.
time to get those. I did have time before the game, but I didn't have time to drive all the way there and all the way back.
Yeah.
And I was able to buy them, find them locally through Google, products and through Google Shopping, and then use their like local delivery service through Uber to get them to me like by the time I had gotten out of the shower and was getting dressed
Yep.
for the game. So I think the more that you can, especially in this day and age, the faster you can put those types of opportunities in front of people that it's available locally, you're going to sell more stuff because I could have never ordered
Spot
it.
on.
It was the same day.
Spot on. Exactly right. And that's an experience you're going to hold on to and remember and probably repeat, right? Which is best case scenario for a brand who delivers an experience that encourages someone to come back and do it again, or to tell people like we are on a podcast that they should go take advantage of a thing. So I think brands and retailers get rewarded when they do something really awesome for their shoppers. And this is another way that they can package that and bottle that energy and then bring that to the varying channels that they choose to exist on. And so to that end, I think TikTok Shop is another one to keep an eye on. And it's an early channel, just like a lot of other channels are, but an exciting one nonetheless. And I think there are a couple unique features related to TikTok Shop that are different than more traditional marketplace channels like an eBay or Walmart. But one of those examples is live selling. There are
Yeah.
very few channels in our part of the world that enable live selling at scale and actually see six or even seven-figure case studies where GMV is being transacted in real time quickly on the marketplace, and it's done by people that have real influence on that platform, right? So influencers on TikTok Shop are critical to merchant success, which kind of ties into the other feature. What's unique about TikTok Shop is that they have a creator marketplace. And so brands and retailers have an ocean of creators who all have, to your point, niche audiences where people engage and learn from and exchange information. using that channel, you can effectively set up an affiliate network that can overnight multiple X your sales coverage across a channel that you may not have invested in that much. And the beauty of affiliate is that it's accretive based on a rev share on the GMV that you're sharing. So
Wow.
if you're
Wow.
right, so if you set like a 20%, let's say, commission for selling an item, and I give it to Ethan, who has 2 million followers, who all happen to be in the Baltimore area, probably going to blow out sales for people that follow Ethan and care about that area, care about the Orioles, etc. So there's a lot of niching down you can do at scale. And that's kind of a scary thought, right? You can find someone who loves Nike orange swooshes to support the Orioles at scale. And so doing that on a channel that's as viral as TikTok can mean a lot of great things for brands that take advantage of the right creator mix. And I think that's a place that vendors and like agencies, service partners can play a role in advising this kind of influencer makes sense, this one does not, and how to
Yeah.
deploy that. And that's something we haven't really seen across other major marketplace channels, which makes them a really scary threat to those channels, but also exciting as a brand and a retailer.
Well, I mean, I love to ask the question, like, what's one tip that you would tell a brand or merchant, that for to give them in order to grow? And it sounds
Yeah.
like it's TikTok Shop, right? And it definitely
TikTok
sounds good.
Shop. Yeah, and investing in a creator strategy, right? You have to show up with a creator strategy. There are other emerging channels that also offer creator led opportunities. Like YouTube Shopping has started to emerge quite a bit as well, which is a competitor in some arenas to what TikTok is doing with the live selling. But the gist is still that if you have a network of people that have a really almost religious audience, someone who logs in every day, engages with the content, et cetera, talking about a product that they actively use and support, that can mean a lot of great things for brands that, it might even be newer to commerce, right? It's kind of a level playing field of sorts in the case of where maybe an Amazon is less so, where you have a lot of incumbents who can bid a lot of money, win the buy box, et cetera. So it's just a very different kind of go to market, and that opens up some really cool opportunities.
So if I'm interested in Feedonomics, as a merchant, what's the next step? Like, do you
Yeah.
evaluate what they're doing? Like, how do they get engaged?
For sure. So we offer a free service called Feed Audits, in addition to Omni-Channel consults. And what that basically is we'll take a snippet from your Google Merchant Center and we will evaluate your Google product feed. We'll go through it. We'll understand, what's going right, what's going wrong, and we'll give you what's in effect a book report that outlines all of those things and our recommendations for how we would correct that data to drive real performance on the channel. So this can be really helpful just to understand how healthy are your Google products and your ads as a result of that. And what we often find is that there's a lot of blue ocean opportunity to correct things and straighten them out for greater performance. In addition, I mentioned this earlier today that we have a service called Omni-Channel Consulting, where we actively meet with brands or their partners to help them understand where are you selling now, why, how much are you investing there, where are you trying to go, what have you been considering, and how would you approach those channels. And in many cases, that can involve direct conversations with a Walmart or a TikTok or whatever it may be to help the brands understand this is why you will perform here, or this is why you may not, and what kind of commercial incentives or opportunities might be sitting with those partners as well
Yeah.
in exchange for onboarding and seeing real success.
But I don't think people understand that there are, not from Google, but these new marketplaces and other channels, there are incentives from time to time
Yeah,
by those folks to come in, and it could be matching your ad spend for a certain amount of money. It could be like there are different types of incentives that they often put out there to get people to test and try
for
that
sure.
channel.
Yeah, it's just math, right? A lot of these channels are making strategic bets that certain kinds of brands will win over others on their platform. They are the house, right? They've got the data, they've got the money, they've got the resources, they control the surface, and so these marketplaces understand what kinds of products their shoppers are looking for, and it's incumbent on them to make sure that brands that sell those products show up because it makes the marketplace more sticky. The marketplace's job is to be a microphone into the world. They are massive marketing partners of sorts, right? And they're bringing in shoppers who have interests and behavior patterns. And they on the other side need to bring products to those people they've attracted to that surface
Mm-hmm.
to convert sales. And so brands and retailers hold a lot of power if they're in the right category. And that can include gated marketplaces like a Target Plus, just as much as it could include open channels like a TikTok. And depending on where you are in your journey from a size perspective, complexity, et cetera, there's probably a channel for you, but figuring out which one it is or which two or which three could take some external input. And that's a role that Feedonomics can certainly play along with your agency partner as well.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you're interested in getting one of those feed audits, just reach out to us here at Groove and we'll happily make an introduction to someone on Matt's team to be able to work with that. So can contact me on LinkedIn or through our contact form on our website. We'll happily make that introduction for you. So Matt, I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us and talk about this. I think this has been very insightful for folks to hear. And so I just want to say thank you for.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. So where can people find you? So it's feedonomics.com.
Yeah, matt.dornfeld at feedonomics.com or Matt Dornfeld on LinkedIn. I'm super active on there. It's my favorite social media platform. So feel free to reach out and shoot me a note.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. If you enjoyed this podcast today, make sure you give us a follow on YouTube. If you got a question, leave a comment and we'll happily respond to you. So thanks again, Matt, and we'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.